Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, waiting on the judge. Yeah, everybody's waiting on the judge, and he said it would be in short order. Now, I missed a few days. I was on vacation. I went and played some golf. I finally got a break from my regular job.
Drink it up, big boss. All right, drink it up, gambler.
Yep, and I went out and hacked it around and in Florida, and actually played 3 days in a row. I was going to do a video while I was down there, but it was just golf, golf, golf. So anyway, back at it. Now the judge, of course, is getting ready to make a decision on a PRO, which is a preliminary restraining order they're trying to get against the NCAA, which is Tennessee and the state of Virginia. The judge, who is Judge Clifton Corker, he didn't immediately make a decision, but he had said he had a lot to think about following the arguments from both sides, and he also said that he'd make the decision in short order. Now, there's two things that the state of Tennessee and state of Virginia are arguing. The biggest argument they've got, and I think by far it's the best argument, is that it will hurt the student athletes. It'll hurt the kids because they're not going to be able to talk about NIL opportunities based on these bylaws, which is what they're calling them now. They were calling them guidelines. If you'll remember, the president of the NCAA said there were no rules.
Right now, there are no rules around how name, image, and likeness works. And for your audience, that's the opportunity for student athletes to benefit from their name, image, and likeness. And
that was back in November of 2023. Well, now he's saying there are rules, but he's calling them bylaws instead of guidelines because guidelines doesn't sound strong enough. So their attorneys try to change that a little bit. And I think that didn't go over so well with the judge because he kept asking them, said, what's the difference between now and then? And they just weren't able to describe the NIL situation very well to him. That made sense that wouldn't hurt the student athletes. So I think that's what the judge is having trouble with. The other argument that for Tennessee and the other schools in Virginia and Tennessee that it would hurt recruiting and things like that, which is an argument, but it requires a second and third thought. And it's really a hard argument to nail down, but you can nail down the argument. They're student athletes that if they can't find out what their NIL value is, how are they going to make the best deal for themselves? Well, the answer is they're not, obviously. How could they? So I think that's probably the part that he's struggling with the most. Now, he didn't give us a temporary restraining order for that 1 week period, which was the day before National Signing Day, which really isn't National Signing Day anymore. And the reason he didn't do that, he said, well, the student athletes can always sue and it's not irreparable. But I disagree with that. If you can't find out what your NIL value is, you're going to go, what, are you going to have like 1,000 lawsuits? Like every one of these student athletes are going to be able to sue? I don't think that's a good idea. I really think he'd be doing the NCAA a favor if he gave them a temporary restraining order because otherwise they're going to get sued to death because he's already told them they're going to lose the case. So it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the NCAA to be fighting this as much as they are because they're probably just inviting all kinds of trouble for themselves down the road. Now, obviously, everybody's waiting very impatiently.
Well, we're waiting.
Exactly. And we want an answer. And I don't think we'll get one Monday. Isn't that a holiday? Yeah, that's President's Day. So I don't think we'll get an answer Monday. We might Tuesday. But I don't know what in short order means to a judge. See, he may think in short order means in under a week or under a month. It's really hard to say. He did the TRO in 1 day. He did it that day. So everybody was thinking, well, he's going to do the same thing or maybe the next day. But instead, it's several days. And I can see why he's struggling with this. I really can. I think he's a very serious judge, honestly. And he's struggling with exactly what to do with this because he's not sure he wants to cause it's going to cause a firestorm if he gives a PRO, because what'll happen is all the other states are going to be like, oh, well, Tennessee and Virginia don't have to follow the NIL guidelines, but everybody else has to. So it'll cause a lot of consternation and confusion, which there's already a ton of anyway. Look, none of this is going to play out like the NCAA thinks. They're going to lose this eventually. It's going to wind up pay for play, which is basically what it is today. Everybody knows it. I know it. The American people know it. But we all got to pretend because of the NCAA. And that's why I want to just hammer them. I want them in dust or powder, either one, dust or powder, just grind them down. And then we'll rebuild them into something that's actually useful, that can be beneficial, where they work for the schools. and set up tournaments and do things like that. There's plenty of work out there for them to do, but they need to get out of the NIL. They have no business in it anymore. It's against the law for them to be involved in it. It just is. Ask Sherman. The Sherman Act from 1890 or whenever the crap it was, 150 years ago, will tell you you can't do that. That's how this country operates. And they've been basically breaking the law for years, according to the Supreme Court, which ruled on this back in the spring of 2021. They said what you're doing is wrong. You cannot do this.
Stop breaking the law, asshole!
Do this. The next case that comes up won't be so specific, and we're really going to hammer you. Believe that. Like, all of them were like ticked off, and you never see that entire group of 9 people agree on the same thing. But they went 9-0, 9-0. So anyway, and I'll get back to my regular routine here. If you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's continue to cover my Vols, the SEC, all these big stories. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Hit that little button right there. I'd appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.